A lot of parents worry they waited too long. Maybe your son didn't get early attention. Maybe no coaches are reaching out. Maybe everyone else is posting offers online and you're wondering if the door is already closed. The truth, most families misunderstand the timeline, and in this video, I'm gonna break down exactly how to know if it's too late and what you can still do right now to help your son get noticed by real college coaches. Now, I've helped many athletes who had no offers, no early interest, and thought their time was up, and they still end up on real college rosters. So you're not alone, and there are steps that you can still take. Now, here's the truth about the college recruiting timelines. The reality is that they last a lot longer than a lot of people think. So obviously signing day is in February of your senior year. Now, depending on which division level we're talking about, their timelines are different. For example, the top of the top schools, those offers and those spots go the fastest. So Division I FBS is considered the top of the top schools. For the most part, if you don't have a Division I FBS offer by your senior season, it's usually too late. Now, you can still get one during that time frame or even after, to be fair, but it's just pretty rare. It's not something to bank on. For FCS, which is the step below, those timelines are generally the same as FBS. You're more likely to get that first offer maybe during your senior season. Again, if you're waiting till after your senior season, again, pretty unlikely. For Division II, Division III, NAIA, and junior college schools, they're going to be offering mostly after your senior season. That means as I'm recording this in November, schools are just now starting to make the bulk of their offers. And the reality is that most kids trying to get recruited to play college football will not get their first offer until after their senior season. And even with that, let's say it gets to February, signing day, there will still be offers being given out after signing day. Now, with that being said, Division I's will be wrapped up by signing day, but Division II's could potentially be offering a couple more spots. There probably won't be a ton more. Division III's and NAs will be recruiting after signing day. What I like to call it is it's trickle down recruiting. The Division I schools take who they're gonna take, and then the D2 schools start to see, okay, who fell from that? Who could we potentially get from that? The Division III schools and NAA schools then see, okay, who's there left? Who could we potentially get from what they left from there? And it just trickles down that ladder. So it creates a staggered effect where it just ends up being a lot later than what a lot of families would think. Now let's talk about if you're here in November or potentially December, January, February, March, and you're still wondering, okay, that's great, but like, how do I know I have a real shot? The issue that a lot of families fall into is that either A, they just guess, or B, they're taking someone else's word for it that, oh, hey, like your son can play at the college level, this and that, or they think that, oh, the fact that my son was a starter on high school, he still has a real shot, he deserves to make a spot. The best way to tell if you have a real shot or not is just to figure it out and reach out to college coaches. If you're reaching out to coaches and you're getting responses back, that means you have a real shot at still getting an offer. And the key is to not wait on this. I talked to too many families here in November that have seniors and they're just waffling around saying, oh yeah, well, we'll get to this more later on, or, we'll figure it out and hopefully things work out. You can't be doing that in this time. So you have to make sure that your X profile is up to date, your highlights are up to date, and that you're sending out as many messages as you possibly can because your future depends on it. Not waiting for some random camp that you got that takes place in December 19th. Now, when we're talking about reaching out to college coaches, the two best ways to do this are email and X. Now, we have a ton of other videos that cover that, so I won't cover it in a ton of depth here. But what you can do is you can search up school coaches on Google. It'll pull up the coaching staff website for that specific school, and they should have contact information there. What I would do is I would go ahead and email the coaches that are most relevant to your son. So for example, it would probably be a position coach, area recruiter. So like usually each school has a specific coach that recruits your son's area. So if you can figure that out, awesome. It's not always the easiest information to find, so don't try to search for it that hard. Don't want to reach out to the head coach. Generally, they're not going to respond to many messages because they get way too many. They're also not super involved in the recruiting process in the beginning, at least. And then also making sure to reach out to like recruiting coordinators. And to be honest, you can reach out to all coaches on the staff. It's what we do for some of our families. But since you're doing it manually, it may take too much time. I just recommend focusing on those main ones that I mentioned. And then as far as the structure of the email message, just make sure it's super simple, short and to the point, shouldn't take more than 30 seconds to read. And then make sure you are linking your highlight tape, so that way the coach can evaluate you right there. Also, outside of email, you want to make sure you're on X and you're active on there. You're posting, you're making sure your profile looks good, and you're also messaging coaches. You can do the same thing that you're doing on email and just DM them. Now, the fact of the matter is that 80% of recruiting happens on X. So if you're going to focus your time anywhere, it would be on X. Now, I mentioned camps. So there are some camps that happen later in the process, usually in December, early January. These camps are generally for you seniors out there that are a little later in the process. So they can be somewhat helpful to get you in front of some coaches, but I definitely wouldn't rely on them, because you may get some invite from some camp and think like, oh, these coaches are attending, and then only half of them will be there, and they may not even be schools that you're actually that interested in. You can use them, try to use them to your advantage. I will just say, like, not all of them are great. So just kind of be aware of that. Do your research to the best of your knowledge. And again, I would not rely on them very heavily. They're kind of just a shot in the dark, and you're kind of just hoping for the best at that point. Now, one of the last key things is grades. Grades are gonna be your big saver. So if you have a 3.0 plus GPA, ideally a 3.5 plus GPA, that's gonna help out a ton throughout this time. The reason why is because when schools are looking to fill up their roster, the last thing they're gonna fill up the last couple spots with is some kid who has grade trouble and is at a 2.6, 2.7. They want high character kids to fill up those last little roster spots to make sure that the right culture fits are going to help their program. On top of that, there's going to be less athletic money out there. So the better grades that you have, the higher academic scholarship you can get, allowing you to get closer to that full scholarship. Now you're probably like, okay, hey, that's all great information, but has anybody actually accomplished this? Is it actually possible still? All those questions may be still in your mind. So I'll give you 2 examples of some late families we worked with that end up getting multiple offers. So one is Jet. Jet came and worked with us late October of his senior year. And he wasn't a star athlete. He wasn't even playing that much at his high school. He had about less than a minute of highlight film. He played receiver on a super run heavy team. I think he had 1 catch that year, and then like the rest of his tape was blocking clips. With that tape, we were able to get him 4 offers, and he ended up taking one for a scholarship amount of $70,000. So if Jet can do it with his minimal highlight tape and starting late, I'm sure you can too. Now the second example is even more crazier. His name's Carter. We started working with him actually in November. And again, he came from nothing, didn't have any interest, no offers, was actually a really good player, had great film, was actually in the state championship as we were starting to work with this family. And throughout while working with us, they ended up getting multiple D2 offers, D3 offers, and NA offers. He ended up taking offer to Mount Union. It's one of the top D3 schools over in Ohio. So with those 2 situations, trust me, you can definitely get recruited if you're starting late. There's a reason this process is a process. It takes time, but obviously you can condense it down to a very short time period as well. Now, everything we talked about today can give you clarity, but of course, everybody's situation is different. Jet's situation was drastically different from Carter's situation. Your situation is probably gonna be much different than Carter or Jet's situation. So if your son is really serious about wanting to play at the next level, I mean 100% committed, not 99%, and you're guessing your way through the process, then that can cost you real opportunities. So if you want a clear plan for where your son stands, what steps he should take next, what you can do is check out the link below, book a free call with our team today. We'll do a full strategy call where we'll take a look at your guys' unique situation and see what's going on, what problems are being faced, what pains you guys are facing, what your guys' goals are, to figure out how you guys can ultimately accomplish that goal of playing at the next level. And if it happens to be a good fit, we feel like we can help, then we'll talk more about that on the call. It won't be any pressure or anything crazy. And sometimes, to be fair, we may even say, hey, look, you don't need our help, or we don't feel like we can really add value to your situation. And we'll just give you as much value as we can on the call to make sure that you guys leave feeling like that time was worth it. And once you book a call, check out my next video on how this parent got his son a college football scholarship.